Hello everybody, welcome to the second episode of Between Two Turns. My name is Sully and today we have an interesting one. So this week we're going to have a look at one that gives us a lot of feedback, shows us a lot of weaknesses that we had at the time. Today's one is going to be on SDRD versus Toulouse, the first game, our first game of MEC and our first real competitive game since pre-COVID. So as you can tell, it's probably going to be a very constructive one. It's just something that we can look back on and learn a lot from, and I hope everybody else learns from it as well, because we weren't ready. We just weren't ready. We hadn't played to a high level of roller derby. We hadn't played against competitive teams really. And Toulouse are one of the best teams, I think arguably one of the best teams in the world currently. So we should have expected a start like this, to be honest. But, you know, it happens. We'd had like 2 or 3 training sessions in 2020. Well, halfway through the year, we'd had a couple of training sessions, some stuff like that. So, and we've addressed these problems. We've managed to address them in training. And yeah, it's easy to look back at it now. Hindsight is 2020. So without any further ado, what we're going to do is get into SDRD versus Toulouse, MEC 2022, and you will see some incredible roller derby. So we'll just run through the jam like we did last time. Both packs have started out even, obviously, it's first jam, and it takes a good 20 seconds for any sort of movement to happen. Rick gets sent off for a penalty, and then Toulouse's jammer then gets sent off for a penalty as well for a cut track. So not a bad start for SDRD in the grand scheme of things. Ferris gets knocked out and recycled, takes the panty off, and then puts the panty back on. And then we try and do some offense to no avail. It's a bit disjointed. Then Tom gets sent off. Again, Ferris is still working the pack, still moving, but not necessarily pushing forwards. Again, miscommunication in offense. Doesn't really do much, but manages to clump them up so Ferris can squeak through the inside. And then Ferris is on to his first scoring pass. Took the panty off, panty goes back on. Tom's just about to come off. Ferris dives for the inside line, but Yas is there, knocks him off. Trying to stop in some recycling to no avail. Yas with a vision, making sure he knows where Tom is, but Tom manages to cut him off from the inside. And again, Yas coming back in for another hit to recycle Ferris. Tom trying to stop the drag back, and then unfortunately it goes off towards the back, but the exact same thing happens again. Ferris goes to take a line, Yas lunges for it and takes him off, and then recycles him back. So that's the gameplay, just as you run through it. But what we're going to do is break down some of the finer details of the jam. So nothing really wrong here in any way, shape or form. It's actually really good, solid pack work from both of them. If you'll have noticed, 4 defensive. So at the front we've got 4 defensive with Yas attacking us. And he's come in and done 2 solid sweeps within this 20-second period to then try and alleviate his jammer. And Ferris is working really hard at the back of the pack here, just trying to fight that 3 wall and stay really consistent, which is great. Like, that's what you want at the start. You want 2 walls, really working hard. Because we hadn't skated together, we weren't quite confident in just dropping that one player off and providing some offense, which we should have been confident in our skating skill, stuff like that. There are different bits and bobs, but we wanted to play the best roller derby we could with the knowledge that we have of our team. So that basically meant that we're going to play the most vanilla roller derby that we could and try to play that to a high level. So yeah, Rick gets sent off, which then Yas comes and does the second offense, freeing his jammer. His jammer must have touched out of bounds, which obviously gives them a cut track and a penalty in our favour. So what we are looking for here, so this is where it all starts to go a little bit pear-shaped. Ferris starts to put the heat on and then takes panty off. Fantastic. Textbook roller derby. That's exactly what you want. At this point in time, Tom's been hit off. So Tom's been hit off, he's on the recycle back down. Nobody's really paying too much attention to him. The other two of our pack are just sat at the front there. It is Ferris's job to try and stay on track. It makes him available for offense. They can come back, provide offense. Switch is slightly slow, but as soon as Ferris takes panty off, gets hit out, gets recycled back. Which happens. It does happen. Unfortunately, there's no sort of like counter blocking or trying to stop them through recycle round, so they get that full recycle, a good 40 foot, all the way to the back of the pack. That's going to happen in roller derby. You can't ever always cut it out. But Ferris has just taken the panty off and he's put it back on. So panty's been taken off. Ferris puts the panty back on. Now, if you look, just here, Yas and Tom. Tom is in a perfect position to receive the panty with only Yas against him, which has also taken Yas out of the pack. Here would keep the panty off to add a level of confusion and then the ability to pass it to Tom if needs be. Because at this point in time, it's going to be a long 2-minute jam. Yes, you want to keep your pivot nice and fresh as much as you possibly can because we've got a rotation of 4 or 5 jammers. So you want to create the most amount of confusion. You don't know who's got the panty. Priority should be Ferris to keep the panty, but the option is for Tom there. So good position in here. Unfortunate decision from Ferris there to put the panty back on, which is making it less available to give the panty pass. It slows down a little bit, but that's okay. What we see, Ferris goes to the outside, good setup, but unfortunately the offense is disjointed. Banks drop back here and then cut across this way, and then we had Sam pretty much in the same position here, and then we had Law and Order go that direction. Unfortunately, it then results in all of our players being at the back of the pack and all of Toulouse players being at the front here, with Yas just sort of watching and waiting. But what you really want a coordinated offense. So Tom's just gone off for a penalty, which then means that panty pass is not there, right? So they've managed to bunch everybody up into the middle. It doesn't matter what team it is. You need to know who the playmaker is, who is the one that's making that pack so strong. So yeah, they're all getting bunched up in the middle. Yas is in here somewhere. He's not really available or free to skate around, which then means Ferris is able to creep up the inside and get out. So then we come round for the first scoring pass. And fortunately, in our favour, you've got 2 Toulouse blockers and their jammers just come out of the box and tried to skip in front of both of them, giving us another penalty. But it is now our job as SDRD to hold a position so then when Ferris engages, that we can suck back and provide some offense. Unfortunately, Ferris makes the decision to dive for a line against Yas. So again, another power jam, dives for the line, and we end up in this situation here. So Ferris is off track, and Tom perfectly sets up on Yas, the guy that knocks Ferris off. Now, we passively try and stop them from getting back. We don't really fight for it. We're in a fantastic position to do so, but unfortunately, Tom decides on the players that are coming back to leave Yas and starts attacking Toulouse players from this direction, which then means Yas comes all the way back round here to recycle Ferris all the way to the other side of the track. No, Tom lets Yas go backwards, and here Yas turns round and faces Ferris. Dead in the eyes, I've recycled you, you then have to come behind me, and does a massive power play. Whether he meant to do that or not, I don't know, but that's exactly what's going through the jammer's head. Yas is constantly on me, Yas is doing this, Yas is doing that. So there we go, turn round. Knows he's in Ferris's head. Now Tom here has perfectly set up for offense. So I'll just put a little O over his head. So he's perfectly set up for offense. I'm going to roll it back and I'm going to see if you notice Yas look at Tom. It's a split-second movement, but this is how high level Yas is compared to most roller derby players. Here we go. Here's the look. Ready? Look. There. Boom. It's the faintest of luck. The faintest of looks. But it gives him all of the information he needs. He knows where the offense is coming. And he knows exactly what he's going to do. So here we go. There's been a half look here. So Tom's obviously coming from this direction. Yas knows this. He's already counter-blocking. Look, every single part of his body is ready. The mechanics of his body is fantastic. That's what comes from his speed skating, his ability to skate. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing with his body. He's cocked and ready. Tom's aiming in that direction, but there's been a quick look. He's spotted Tom. And all he needs to do is be in front of Ferris. And he knows that. So what happens is, Tom's occupying Yaz's space, and they come over to this direction. And then what happens here is Rick sets up on this blocker here, who ends up being at the back of the wall, which creates that massive, clear inside line. But unfortunately, not the case. So we drive in, good setup from Rick. Tom is in Yas's space, keeping Yas on the outside of the track, which means that he'd have to accelerate out and round if he wanted to get to the front. Rick has perfectly set up here, and then you've got Law here that should cap off. Should stop moving, just cap off, provide a shield, pushing everybody to the inside line, which then allows Ferris to do that wee little zigzag and go out. So yeah, Tom's on the inside of Yas, looking at pushing Yas that way. Rick has set up on the back of the 3-in-1 just here, pushing this direction. Now, Law and Order, just here, should stop. Should just stop there, provide a shield, provide pressure that way for a textbook sweep. Unfortunately, after this, Ferris doesn't take the inside line, and Yas is free. Toulouse is reformed, waterfall to the front of the pack, again leaving our blockers at the back of the pack, and Ferris chasing behind. Now, here is the demon himself with a good 2-foot run-up at Ferris, who's tired, not looking towards the inside of the track, and then ends up getting battered, which is a straight-up violation of Ferris. Good hit, but Ferris is tired and hits the deck, which then sort of leads into a breakdown in complete gameplay. So recycle back, pulling all the way back, and then Tom trying to stop that, trying to stop them wasting more time. Tom's shot back, and obviously again Yas, who is still defending the pack by the way, has only given up his point and no other point, is so fast, reacts to that, and then just allows Tom to chase back ever so slightly, taking that opportunity to take Ferris back 40 foot, and then out of the camera. So what's happened is we've recycled back, and then Ferris, the tired boy he is, attempts to, this time, still go for the inside line while counter-blocking, but again, Yas just takes him off the back, protects his pack, protects that point, and that's pretty much the end of the jam. There's points in the game where we should have really taken our time. We were constantly moving. The level of gameplay was so high and irate that we were constantly moving or feel like we want to be moving, where in actual fact what we should have done is taken a step back and looked up. Now I can't say this enough. It is better for you to slow down and look up than it is for you to drive as fast as you possibly can. And you're just diving into everything, then whatever your team's trying to do around you becomes null and void, okay? Because you'll end up getting hit off, or you'll get taken to one side, you'll get controlled, which is what happened here with Toulouse. They played fantastic controlling gameplay, and they allowed their best skater to do everything that they wanted. We should have assessed the threat. At this point in time, Yas was the one that was controlling the gameplay, that was controlling Ferris. Whoever had their body on Yas should have man-marked Yas. Ferris should have played more carefully in certain situations and then more assertively in others. For example, not diving for a line, carrying the speed, but not diving for a line, expecting to get past, which then, although the offensive switch was slow, would have provided time for the offense to come back and provide a coordinated offense. Now, if anybody's played French teams, they are fantastic at waterfalling. I think it's just something that they do in France. They just must constantly work on waterfalling because it's fantastic. They are so good at it that having one person doing one thing and one person doing the other is really ineffective against those kinds of teams. Little decisions like taking the panty off, it does provide a level of confusion for the other team. It means that they have to defend the pivot and the jammer at the same time, or they just keep them separated as much as they possibly can. What I would take away from this game in particular is clear communication with each other, which is going to mitigate a lot of the problems that we had in that jam. Identify the threats of the pack or the jam. What are they winning? How are they winning that jam? And then the third one, which I cannot remember because I've just forgotten it. And then the third one is patience. So be patient, take your time, understand what's happening in your environment so that you can prevail in the jam and score more. And if the pack's not working well, then the jammer's got to try and step up and do as much work, which then results in both making mistakes more and more and just eventually getting in each other's way rather than actually being patient and then getting everybody out of the way so that your jammer can get out and get round.